Last week, we discussed 5 concepts that you need to know if you would like to master your own music. This week, I'm going to show you some core mastering principles that I use so you can try to master your own music. Stay tuned. Hey, everybody. All right, today we're going to talk about mastering your own music. Now, I urge you to proceed with caution if you try to master your own music. Mastering is, not very complicated. However, it does take a trained ear, a tuned environment. And if you missed part 1 of this about how to master your own music, go back and check that out. I'll leave you a link up above. Now, I've got a session opened up here with a master that I recently did. I also use this as a comparison to human mastering versus AI mastering. So be sure to check that out as well so you can hear the differences between my master versus a lander master or artificial intelligence mastering. Now, the first thing you need to do to master your own song or album is you need to take a look at expectations. You need to take a listen to the files you have, and you need to understand where you are with this material and where you can get. Having reference tracks can help you figure out where you might want to go, but you need to have a solid understanding of the limitations of the quality of your music. For example, if your music production is not up to par and you're trying to compare yourself with something extremely professional, you're going to have a hard time getting it there because mastering is not the answer to that. Although mastering can make some wonders happen, and I've definitely done that for people, it's not going to polish a turd, as I say a lot, or the common saying goes. The other common computer saying, garbage in, garbage out. Having a good master will make your song sound good on all platforms and systems and can really enhance the quality of your music, especially having a good mastering engineer. But magic doesn't happen at this stage. Mastering is truly the icing on the cake, and having a quality mix first and foremost will be the best thing you can do. And to get a quality mix, you need quality production or quality recordings. And mastering is only as good as all of those stages put together. So you need to remember that. And you need to take a look at the expectations. One of the things that I do when I listen is I look at what the client sends me. I listen, I analyze, I determine where they might need to go. I try to figure out what kind of problems that might need to be taken care of. And then I will start. I might leave some notes on my notepad and keep information handy. So that's the first step, is listening. Listening and providing expectations, understanding expectations. Now let's get into the next step. So the next step is preparation. As you can see, I've got a blank template up here. This is how I would utilize a mastering session in Pro Tools. I would line up all the tracks. As you can see, this was an EP and it's all the same song. It's just the master mix, the instrumental, and the acapella. If I was doing an album, I'd put all the tracks in order. And from here, what I would do is I would prep everything and get ready to master. At this stage, I've already listened and I've already developed my expectations, and I understand what problems might need to be addressed. Now, I can decipher those problems extremely quickly because I have a trained ear. But for the sake of this video, let's talk about that. First of all, let's listen so you can get an idea of what this original sounds like. So in the preparation stage, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to organize my session. Now, I have a template made for my mastering jobs, and as you can see, I have all my tracks lined up here, and I have the output of this track going into this aux track, this EQ, and I have the output of this going into this compressor track, and then I have my master. And it's really as simple as that. I'm really not addressing much more. Now, if I need to address problems with individual tracks, I will do so, or I'll hard process them right into the track. And then I go into all my stages. So let's get into the third stage of mastering your own song. Now, after you've done your listening and your expectation, stage 1, and you've moved into file organization and preparation, which is stage 2 we just discussed, now you're moving into stage 3. So that is where you're going to be addressing any problems and applying corrective EQ. So listening to this song, I'll go ahead and play you a little bit of this. Once again, I have a trained ear, so I can spot these things out rather quickly. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. What did you hear? Did you hear anything that needed to be addressed? Obviously, this mix, in my opinion, is very mid-range heavy. It lacks a lot of low end. It has some problem resonating frequencies. Now, number one, mastering is supposed to be transparent, so I try to make my work extremely subtle. But if there is a major problem, I might push back to the mix engineer, or if I can't go that far, I will try to address it here. So the first thing that I heard is there's just too much mid-range. So in the corrective stage, I might do something like this. And let's give it a boost so you can hear that. You hear that right there?
I see you looking at me across the room. All these people but my soul, you. Sipping on this got me in the mood.
And this is before, after, before, after. Very subtle, but that's going to help with the overall master itself. Another thing I hear is a lot of mid-range, low mids that I want to address. So probably around 400 or so. And there you go. So there's both of those cuts, before and after. Now I also hear a very high shrill noise that's bothering my ears, so I'm going to take this one and go up to 11,000 or so. Before, after. Here's before everything. Just these three moves made all that difference. Now, I would still adjust a couple more things. Like I said, I'm trying to be very transparent here, but this is an example of the corrective stage, and this is stage 3 of mastering your own song. Now in stage 4, this is where I would get into my enhancement stage, and this is where I would be enhancing things. I might use, very common in mastering, say a pull tech, and here I'm looking to enhance a couple qualities. So first of all, it needed a little bit more clarity, so can boost a little clarity. Give it a little low end, and it's lacking a little drive. Let's give it a little 200. And maybe this is a little corrective move. The beautiful thing about a pull tech is it's very broad brush strokes. And as you can see, just these small moves have really enhanced this song. Another enhancement that I want to adjust here, I still feel like there could be some more low end. And this is just a personal preference. I prefer to have a little low end. So this right here is my corrective EQ. Let's turn the enhancement off. This is what we started with. Corrective, enhancements, and this has an enhancement in it as well. Now I might go in and do a little bit more enhancement. Maybe I'll take one more EQ. I like this one for color. You know, maybe I just want to add a little more sparkle, a little more high end. And this is, like I said, this is just an example of what I would be doing at this stage. So that's the fourth stage, is the enhancement stage. Now the fifth stage to mastering your own song, after you've done your corrective stuff and then you've done your enhancements with EQ, you're going to be looking at compression. And I usually keep compression pretty light. You know, some compressors have a color, some don't. One of the things I suggest you do is that if you don't know what you're doing with compression, keep it minimal. But this would be an example. And as you can see, that just helps bring out a little bit of the sonic clarity there. Before and after. Okay, the next phase of mastering after compression is getting the loudness, and that means the limiting stage. So let's get into this. Here's a loudness meter. We still can get a little more loudness out of our compressor. You want to get this right up to the top. And you're really looking for the loudest part of the song. So let's grab the FabFilter Pro L2. This is one of my favorite limiters, and depending on how I master, if I was mastering for, say, Beatport or Club Play, I would put it at minus 0.1. But if I'm mastering for streaming or something, I would go to a true peak of 1.0. That's what the streaming platforms definitely want. You don't want to go over the recommended true peak value. Another thing that I would recommend is that you pay attention to how much you're actually squashing your music, because when you chop off these peaks and you crush your dynamics and you crush all of those peaks off, you're losing all your punch, you're losing all your clarity. So with this limiter, a cool trick is you can hold shift and adjust this, and notice how at the bottom the output is going down as well. And you can actually test, you know, you can level match to see and test how much you're crushing this. So, and you don't want to squeeze too hard, because if you go over 360 dB with your limiting, you're not in a good spot. And so after I'm done with that, you can turn that up. Now depending on where I'm mastering to and what I'm mastering for, this would really outline what I would be trying to do. So another thing is, you notice the peak value is coming overboard, so I might throw on just one more limiter. And this is sometimes a bigger issue, but just to play it safe, you might want to throw on one more limiter on the master, just to get that final output. And so a nominal level these days would be -9, but even at that level, you're going to get turned way down. When I do dance music productions, I do need to master much higher. -7, -8 is typically the standard that I've been doing. Some people want -6. It just depends on the client. So that's the last stage of the actual mastering. Once you've got that done and you've got your masters ready to go, your next bet is to bounce all of this into audio. Let's go ahead and just bounce down this first track, so to save time here. Okay, for the purpose of saving time, I only bounced this one, but if I had all three of these, the next step would be to cut all of these up. And once I had them cut up into individual files, I would then put my fades. And so, for example, I would put a tiny little fade at the beginning there and just make sure that there's no clicks. and I would have a gap between these, and I would basically set up the fades that I needed. You might want to do like an artistic fade, something more like this, depending on how it sounds and how what the client wants. I always recommend that if you're the client to leave notes with the fades you might want if it's an album. If it's a single, it's not as important, but it's still necessary to put the fades. And the last step with the mastering process is one that I definitely try to avoid, but that would be revisions. If I can get my clients' masters done right the first time, it saves me the headache of having to do revisions, but it's always about what the client wants. So I offer unlimited revisions for 7 days currently. But usually I'm nailing masters right on the first shot. They may have one small change. Oh, I want a little more bass or this or that. And then I'll do a revision for them. But typically most of my masters I land in the first shot. So that's great. Now, if you're going to try and go at mastering yourself, feel free. It takes a trained ear. It takes an experienced ear. And if you want to compare the results to something from, say, me, I offer a free sample down below. You can click the link and get your free stereo mastered sample snippet of your music mastered. And let's see if you can beat me. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and the bell notification will keep you up to date. My name is Freddie from Distinct Mastering. Have a great day.